we like to kick the show off with something we fondly refer to as the jargon of the day. Now, we started doing this 10 years ago. This was the first concept for the first show, was that, holy Christmas, the jargon can sink your boat, right? If somebody is talking to you, an expert, and you're seeking help, and they start using words that are in another language, you're like, how is that helpful to me, right? And the truth is that what I discovered is when you start to understand the jargon, it's actually helpful. So we try to make friends with it, one word, one phrase, one acronym at a time. We first give you the actual definition. Sometimes it's appropriate for us to make fun of the actual definition because it's so steeped in other jargon that it's pointless, right? Or they just rearrange the words. Say like, well, what's the flurgen flurgen? Well, the flurgen flurgen is the flurgen to flurgen. I don't know. I'm still lost, right? But then we always get down to a working definition, which is something that we hope will help you to access the point of this jargon, right? Sometimes that makes people break out into hives because it's a little less than perfect, but it gives you the feeling of it. And we always say to you, don't get frustrated with yourself. If you're not getting it right away, join the club. We've all been there, right? But give yourself time to process and see things in the real world. And as it unfolds in your life, eventually you'll go, okay, I think I'm beginning to get that. And one day you'll go, no, I totally understand what that is, right? That's what we're going for, so that you can use it. My mantra always is, how can I help you to save 5 minutes and $5, right? And if you learn these jargon terms, eventually it does save you 5 minutes and $5 guaranteed. And sometimes it helps you to get to the progress, or to be able to know what word to say to the expert. This is what I'm going for. This is what I want, not this, this. And then they go, oh, okay, here's what I have in my bag of tricks to help you to do that. Okay, so today's jargon term, I already told you it was a secret, but if you remember, I told you what today's jargon term, for the first time on the show, we are taking on the word neurodiversity. Dun, da, da. I was like, what jargon term would we like to start this new season off? And this seemed only fitting. This is a term that is growing in popularity, and I want to talk about why you might like it or why you might not like it, right? So the actual definition from Wikipedia of neurodiversity is, ready for this? Referring to individual differences in brain functioning regarded as normal variations within the human population. I love this definition because Wikipedia is already saying that it is normal for there to be variations in the human population of how the brain functions. Isn't it nice to get permission from Wikipedia? I mean, I don't even mean to be snide about that, but how crazy is it that we have to get to a place where we can create a term which gives people permission to have their brains function in different ways, and we would call it normal variations? I mean, that's really where we're at, but I applaud that at least we're there, because a couple of years ago, I don't think we were there. And not everybody is on this page, but I appreciate this. Let me say this. I won't say that I love it, because it's like, wow, we really have to state that. Yeah, we really do. So now let's go to I'm not making fun of this. You know what I'm saying? But now let's go to our working definition, which this is really the heart of things. It's understanding the concept that you can be different and it does not make you less. And what the term neurodiversity seeks to do is to stop stigmatizing difference in brain functioning. Let's stop stigmatizing it. We are a society that loves to put things into nice, neat little boxes. And I don't know about all of you, but there was a day and a time when I didn't know what I know now, that I asked the question in all earnestness, in all, the vulnerability that came with it, when somebody said to me that my child had an autism spectrum disorder, that he was on the spectrum. And I found myself saying, is that a good thing? Or is it the other side? I don't even want to say it, right? And what I've learned over the years is that, why do we need to quantify things? Like, For me, and the way I explain when so many times when we used to, before COVID, when we used to be at conferences or we'd be at a walk or an event or something like that, and we'd have a booth, at some point, a parent would like have asked other people at other booths, and they would say, one of my kids is on the spectrum, one of them isn't. How do I explain autism to the kiddo that is not on the spectrum? And they would all like, it was funny. It got to be like a joke. People at other booths would be like, oh, take them over to talk to Shannon. Because what I would say to a kiddo, if they were old enough to understand, do you know computers? Yes. Okay, well, do you understand that there are Macs and there are PCs? And that, yes. And I would say, which one is better? Which one is right? You can't you can't argue that anymore. I mean, we used to spend, commercials and time arguing about which one is better. I don't hear anybody arguing about that anymore because people like both. They're very different, but you can install an app on a Mac that helps it to run a program that runs well on a PC. And you can install an app on a PC that helps things run on a Mac, right? But there are benefits to a Mac. It's inarguable that there are some things on a Mac where it's just there's a little bit more finesse, there's a little bit more fluidity with it. And likewise, there are some things on a PC where it just clunks a little bit different, right? It works a little bit different. And I would argue that this neurotypical thing that everybody's so attached to, which I'm not even sure that we shouldn't retire that. But this idea of what was normal brain functioning is maybe a PC, and that for people who are neurodivergent, maybe they're a Mac and maybe they're a type of computer that hasn't even been invented yet. But let's stop saying that something is better or worse. We stopped that with computers. And what we started saying is, I like this functionality of a Mac, but I like to be able to do that. Have you got an app that I can put on my Mac that allows me to do this? And as a society, we invented stuff that helped the Mac to be able to do all the things that a Mac does well, plus a few things that maybe it couldn't do without the app. And we stopped arguing, and you pick which one you like. It's the same thing with cars. I mean, there's lots of different cars out there and people who like different things. It's okay to be different. So this is the basis from which I just want to make it clear that here at Autism Live and at the Autism Network, this is the basis of where we're coming from. Different, but not less. This is the hill I'm prepared to die on, because you can't tell me that my brain works better than my son's. I know that's a lie. I know that that isn't the truth. Now, on the flip side of it, there are things that my son wants to be able to do. So I always want to be coming that he currently can't do. Well, that's there are things that I want to do that I currently can't do. But the human condition is that we are constantly moving, growing, and changing. So I want to encourage, and it's like planting a garden, right? And I want to plant diversity. I want to plant diversity, and then I want to cultivate, and I want to be a part of nourishing and giving nutrients so that diversity can grow, and helping, so that if somebody says, well, I'm really good at this, but I'd like to learn this, that we not quantify it and go, well, you can't, because I believe that people can do all kinds of things. And I certainly believe in the power of the neurodivergent brain. One of the first interviews that I remember hearing Temple Grandin do, it was right after the Fukushima plant had failed and had meltdown. And I remember Temple Grandin saying, the problem here is that they didn't have a person on the spectrum looking at the plants. And she said, because I can tell you, my brain works in a way that I see things from all angles, that I I build things, I create things. So my brain can see things from up above. And she said, I could have taken one look at that Fukushima plant and have told you eventually water is going to seep into that basement and it's going to infect the water around it. She was like, it's just a no-brainer. My brain sees that easily. They made a mistake not having somebody who had a different functioning brain on this project. And I remember going, that's powerful. That's the truth. So, and I see that somebody has written in and said that my son is low functioning. Not sure I can say different, but not less for him. And I'm sending you a hug. But I want to stop for a second and I want to address that, because what we have seen over the years is that there are some people that we look at, and remember, it's contextually. When people say functioning level, it's contextual, right? So, I love Elaine Hall says, if the task is being able to put together the gear to climb on top of a mountain, then her son is high functioning. He'll be the most functional person on the mountain because he's capable of doing that. If you're going to do organic gardening and you want to lay out a plot and do organic gardening, her son is going to be the highest functioning person or one of the highest functioning people in the room. But if you're going to write a dissertation on, anything, somebody's going to call her son low functioning. So let's remember that it's contextual. But what we've seen over the years is that there are many people who don't have functional communication, who aren't able to have contact with the world outside them. They might be someone who is engaged in a lot of behaviors that they are focused on, right? But we find that when they get older, that when they are given a means of functional communication, what we discover is that that individual is actually brilliant. That IQ is off the chart. We have seen this time and time again. I would encourage you, there's a book out right now about Emily Grodin. It's called I've Been Buried in 100 Years of Dust, about a young woman who there was no functional communication, and she writes beautiful poetry now. There's also Carly's Voice, about Carly Fleischman. Carly Fleischman would have been considered the severest of the severe, and her parents, bless their hearts, eventually got to the point where they were like, we're not going to be able to teach her the alphabet. We're not going to be able to teach her to speak. We're not going to be able to teach her to communicate. She has no, thank you. I have been buried under years of dust, a memoir of autism and hope. Thank you for that, Traven. I always get the title wrong. But anyway, Carly, there was no sense that she even understood what the alphabet was, no sense that she even understood that the concept of 1 versus 2, none. And her parents eventually said, it is unkind of us to continue to try to put her in a situation to teach her those things because it's beyond her capability. And I Google her because when she was 13 years old, her parents were away on a vacation and left her with caregivers. And she, again, not someone that they even thought knew the letter A, right? And she took the computer from the caregiver and typed out the words, my teeth hurt, help. And what they discovered was that Carly has a high IQ. Google and see Carly interview Channing Tatum. I always get his name confused, but it is one of the most wonderful, heartfelt, beautiful things. Carly still does not have spoken language, neither does Emily. Read what they write, and don't give up. I don't want to minimize the challenges that you are going through with your child, but I want to pack hope into your backpack. That we're finding that there's so much more going on the inside. So you could not tell me that Emily or Carly, no one could call them less at all. In fact, Emily's poetry is just, whew, and nobody knew that was in there. No one knew for the very longest time. I don't think Emily typed anything until she was like 25, 27. So don't give up. Don't give up. And this is the space from which we're coming. yes, there are some individuals who have huge challenges. And we don't want to minimize that at all. And as a caregiver of someone who has huge challenges, it's, I mean, there's a lot going on, and we're not leaving you out of this conversation. You're a big part of this conversation. And we do believe here at Autism Live that there needs to be a designation for people who have extreme challenges. And I do not know that everyone has the intellect and the IQ that Carly and Emily do, but I do believe that we should assume that it's there and keep mining for it. So I'm so glad that you're feeling the hope. There are 2 books out there that you can, hear their stories. I've Been Buried Under Years of Dust, a memoir of autism and hope, and Carly's Voice is the book that her dad wrote, and she wrote a part of it, but Google her and watch her do the interview with Channing Tatum. Is that his name? Channing Tatum. It's like 2 last names. I always get it confused. It's a problem for me. Lovely, lovely gentleman. Don't mean to mess up his name. But in any case, this is the space that we've got to come from. I love the first time I met Nancy Allspaw Jackson, one of the first things she said to me was, you always, always, always have to presume intelligence. Always. That sometimes someone is locked within their circumstances and does not have the ability to communicate with us in our form of communication, to tell us what they have going on. But I think you're going to see some of the beautiful things that these individuals will say once they're given the opportunity for functional communication. Channing Tatum. Thank you, Nella. I don't know. I get like, is it Channing Tatum? Channing Tatum. It's terrible that I can't remember his name. In any case, different, but not less. This is the basis from which we're going to come. But we always like to encourage people to, just like Ushalat just did, tell us where you're at, because there is room here for all of us. This is the place that I want to come from as we move the conversation forward. Thanks for watching Autism Live. If you found anything helpful in this video, please give us a like. In fact, make sure that you smash that subscribe button on YouTube and give us a like on Facebook. You can also follow us on Twitter and Instagram for important updates. And please download our free podcast wherever you get your podcasts. See you next time. Until then, give your kiddos a hug from me and one for you too. Bye-bye for now.
To subscribe, click here. And if you'd like to check out some more of our videos, click here.